Thank you very much, Lillie, and good morning, everyone. We have a great topic, a timely topic. In fact, I don't know if you heard this morning on NPR, there was a special segment all about cybersecurity and cyber war, and if we have a few minutes on this panel, I think I might actually play that 3-minute segment on NPR with Tom Gelton from this morning. You probably also know that this is a topic that has received renewed interest here in Washington and governments around the world. Just in the last few days, we've heard about attacks against the State Department, the IMF, the World Bank, Citibank. This morning, reported that in fact the number of account holders breached in their April attack was approximately twice what they originally reported. So it is a very interesting issue, very important issue, and as we move to our panelists, I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the very significant role that Lillie Coney has played here in Washington, D.C. You know, Lillie's not just a great conference organizer and great with people, but she does have a real insight about emerging policy issues. And one of the goals that she has had over the last several years in the area of cyber policy has been to bring more technical experts, Carnegie Mellon University and Dean Kosla's faculty extraordinary group, and also more NGOs, more civil society organizations to the discussion. And it wasn't surprising to me, for example, when Howard Schmidt, the so-called cybersecurity czar at the White House, acknowledged Lillie for the work that she's done to bring more voices to this discussion. So this panel is actually part of her grand scheme. I don't know exactly where we all fit into this, but it's an important discussion, it's a timely discussion, and we have a wonderful expert group of panelists. What I'm going to do is to ask each of the panelists to speak for about 5 minutes on their primary areas of interest and focus. Because this is a policy conference, I also offer the advice that people try to make concrete suggestions, because one of the things we get to do in Washington when we identify a problem is to talk about solutions. And I'm a big believer that if you see a problem, you have an obligation to propose a solution. So I hope this morning on the panel we'll hear some solutions. Then what I'd like to do is actually play the segment from NPR, have a bit of a discussion around some of the issues that have been raised, and then open it up for discussion with you. So if that sounds good with everyone here, we'll simply get underway. I'd like to begin by introducing Pradeep Khosla, who is the Dean of the College of Engineering at Carnegie Mellon University.
Thanks, Mark. I was not expecting to be first. Okay, I'll wake up. I'll be first. Mark wanted us to talk about security, but since the session, like the talk before this was about privacy, I thought I'll talk a little bit about not any solutions, but an issue that concerns me significantly that I think EPIC would have a very big role to play in, and that is about future privacy concerns. So we all love personalization, right? Would you agree with me? I mean, it was great to be called by your first name when you meet people. It's great to go to a clothing store and get a shirt that's exactly what you like. It's personalized for you. And that's exactly what's happening on the web. And as much as we love personalization on the web, it also implies in the background there is a significant amount of information that you don't know about yourself that is being collected. So for example, if two of you right now go to exactly the same web page, you will see different ads being presented to you. And you have to ask yourself, how does the system know? What is it that I like this class of clothing and somebody likes shoes and somebody else likes lipsticks? How does the system know? So it turns out it's encoded based on your IP address and based on a whole lot of cookies that get deposited on your computer when you go browse a website. This is all well known, but the point I'm trying to make is there's a new class of services out there who look at this information, third-party providers, who then feed this information to, like the Kmarts and the Walmarts of the world, so that when you browse their website, you get very personalized information. So we should all be very concerned about it for multiple reasons. One is social, but let me just talk about privacy. What this is implying is that the system knows so much about you, nearly everything about you, and it's all encoded in terms of your IP address and in terms of your cookies on the computer. Alessandro talked about your face being the connection in the future. But you can very well imagine that the step between knowing your name and knowing your IP address is not that far off. So if you're on Facebook, for example, and you have all this personal information on Facebook, it's very easy. In fact, already Facebook knows what IP address is connected to what name, right? So the point I'm trying to make is all of your personal information is out there. We talk about privacy a lot. But this next generation of privacy issues, which are happening like right now, are going to be really significant, where it's not going to be your picture, it's going to be your IP address, connected to your name, connected to your personal information. The only gap right now is that all this information exists in multiple different servers. So for example, Google has some, Facebook has some, Twitter has some, somebody else has some. And the question is, when does this get aggregated in one form or the other, and a complete profile for you gets created, where in every one of these websites they would be true to their privacy concerns, but together they would not. As in, together they would know everything about you. So that's an issue that has been concerning me for a little bit now, and that's an issue I think we need to look at seriously. So I would not talk about security. So thank you very much, Mark.
Okay. Thank you, Pradeep. Stuart with MITRE.
Okay, well, before I say anything else, let me say that everything I am about to say here is my own personal view and does not reflect the views of my employer. So if I say something really stupid, you cannot hold it against them. Of course, by the same token, if I say something incredibly brilliant, then they don't get the credit, but they seem to like those odds. The debate about cybersecurity, which has been raging, seems to be dominated by two more or less extreme viewpoints. So depending on who you are listening to, you will know that either A, cyber Armageddon is imminent and you better stock up on bottled water and survival gear, or you will know that it is a bunch of overblown hype that various parties are pushing in order to advance their various agendas, and it's all basically a bunch of overheated hogwash. As is often the case with these sorts of things, I think the actuality lies somewhere between the two extremes. Depending on what label you want to use, the advanced cyber threat or the advanced persistent threat, whatever, is real. There are threat actors out there who are extremely capable and extremely determined, and they do have the potential for causing a fair bit of damage. On the other hand, I also think it's the fact that the vast majority of cyber attackers out there are more or less the same old cyber attackers that we've been dealing with for quite a while now. And their attacks are not particularly sophisticated. They basically depend on people and organizations doing rather stupid things. This is not Lake Wobegon where all the children and all the cyber attackers are above average. So, to the extent that the various proposals that are out there and the various propositions can get people, and in particular organizations, to stop doing overtly stupid things from a security standpoint, like storing passwords in clear text and using WEP and not changing default admin passwords and so on and so forth, then I think there's the potential for making substantial progress. However, by the same token, I find a lot of what's being talked about kind of myopic, in the sense that it's really proposals to do a lot more of the same stuff that we have been doing. It's basically batten down the hatches, monitor the heck out of everyone and everything, and all will be well. But the problem with that is, well, there are two problems with that. The first problem is, from a technical standpoint, I don't think that's going to solve the problem of the advanced cyber threat. Because guess what? The advanced cyber threat is advanced. These people are good, and if you're a high-value target, they will probably manage to get in at some point. And so then the question becomes, what now? In terms of the move toward more and more monitoring, I have privacy concerns, not surprisingly. So, what Mark wants solutions. Okay, well, let me propose, if not solutions, then perhaps a few bromides. From a technical standpoint, I think we need to be looking increasingly at resiliency from a security standpoint. Traditionally, research on the resiliency of systems has tended to focus on reliability issues. Can you degrade performance gracefully? Can you keep on executing functions in the face of various kinds of failures? And so on. We're starting to see some people looking more deeply at the notion of resilience from a security standpoint. The attacker is in. What can you do to minimize the damage that they can do? How can you architect your internal networks? What things can you put in place which will allow you to continue to function, at least in terms of critical processes, securely, and to actually to support whatever purpose your system has, even though the attacker is in and they're roaming around, and so on and so forth. Another thing that I think we need to be looking more closely at and talking more about is simplification. This is a hobby horse that Gene Spafford likes to ride a lot. This is the idea that our stuff is just too complicated, it's too complex, and it's basically a practical impossibility to secure stuff that is this complex. And so we need to be seriously looking at how can we streamline, how can we simplify, how can we reduce functionality. From a privacy standpoint, what concerns me is that the remedies that are proposed for dealing with all of this extra monitoring and inspection that's being called for is that, again, it's kind of the same old, same old. Well, we'll have really good oversight. That's always, Granny's castor oil. We'll have really good oversight. And we'll have some processes, and we'll have some privacy officers, and this isn't to denigrate privacy officers who I think, by and large, actually do a pretty good job under the circumstances. But in particular, if you're talking about the government kind of sticking its fingers in some pretty potentially intrusive ways into fundamental information and communication infrastructure in the name of protecting it and protecting government systems, then I think you need to start looking for things beyond just oversight. Not to discount oversight, we need oversight, but at least from my perspective, if this is what's going to go on, then I'd like some really I'd like some really hardcore oversight that is completely independent of the executive branch. Because to the extent that the oversight is sitting in the executive branch, and again, this is not to impugn the integrity of the people involved, to the extent the oversight is sitting in the executive branch, from my perspective, it is inevitably going to be suspect.